Hey folks, in some major stock news, my man, the Mark, the Zuck, is coming after the iPhone. This is broadly not being talked about by anyone, and I've been sitting here as an Apple shareholder for years asking myself what truly disrupts the business model, the legacy that is the iPhone. And Mark Zuckerberg primarily being around just as long as Apple's been around, primarily selling some of the best apps on the platform, the most used apps, whether we're talking Facebook, Instagram, or WhatsApp. And recently the stock itself has been flying up about 4% at the highs of today, with nobody really understanding where the price action was coming from. And personally, I think it's all coming off the back of Mark actually doing a social media campaign with all these influencers in a way that he's never actually done for as long as I've held Facebook stock. And recently, as of yesterday, the video I think driving a lot of Facebook's price action today is this interview with Gary Vee, where they touched on where Facebook was, where they're going, what the metaverse is, what virtual reality and augmented reality truly are. But within this video, about 20 minutes in, there's a 2-minute clip that I pulled out where Mark really touches base on how he feels about the current platforms we are using, stuck within a two-dimensional screen, and having policymakers take a lot of control over that. And I know we've heard about this, obviously, with Apple limiting their targeted ads, but I wanted to take a quick listen because this is incredibly intriguing.
You know, one of the things that I reflect on a lot is, you know, social media kind of grew up with the smartphone.
Yes.
Right? Facebook I started in 2004. And I think Apple was probably already working on their iPhone design by then. It came out in 2007. So, you know, we didn't really get to shape what the smartphone was.
No.
You know, we built a lot of the most used experiences for it, but it's sort of it grew at the same time. And because of that, I feel like the smartphone sort of grew in a way that it's somewhat limiting in terms of the type of social experiences that you could have. I feel like there's a lot of things that I would love to build that we can't build because we're kind of constrained into this, you know, little rectangle and policies that some other companies set. So that's part of, for me, why I have so much passion about helping to bring about this next platform shift and accelerating it. Because I think the sooner we get to virtual and augmented reality, the better, the more magical these social experiences are going to be. And I just think, you know, our platforms should be designed around people interacting with each other. I think that's like how we process the world as people. And that's just not how phones are designed. They're designed around apps today.
Yeah.
But I think, you know, going back to your first question about NFTs and Web3, I think the atomic unit in the metaverse is going to be about you and kind of your stuff and your friends and your connection, right? So you're gonna have your avatar and you're gonna have your digital clothing and your digital tools. And unlike apps today that are kind of all designed to be a little bit siloed, and you have to do all this extra work to get them to work together, in the metaverse, I think it's going to be fundamentally more interoperable, where your fundamental experiences that you're embodied in your identity, your digital avatar, all your stuff. And I think as a user of this, your natural expectation is going to be that you can bring all your stuff in between all these experiences very seamlessly.
Now, this was kind of a subtle jab, but I think Mark really sees the future of most engagement coming through the augmented and virtual reality world. And I think this is something that Apple is going to have to start paying attention to. And I'm really curious to, in 15 or 20 years, if those become the dominant platforms of use. But when we're talking about virtual reality as it is in the metaverse, most people don't even know what the metaverse is, but it largely already exists. It is basically just the virtual world in which we exist, and largely owned by game makers and places and people like Microsoft, right? And I mean, there's no better example than last year when Fortnite held a virtual rap concert that drew 12.3 million people. And we've talked about use cases for the virtual world, whether it's real estate. We already do kind of these 3D modelings of homes, but imagine having an immersive experience where you can show up to the house without actually having to be there and have the agent explain it to you thoroughly. I mean, obviously concerts and shows, like if you can't make it to a show somewhere on the other side of the world, but you want to attend, maybe get a discounted ticket to show up in the virtual space, or hell, even after show parties where anybody can join to limits in the virtual space. There's just so much use cases that make me think this is going to be a multi-trillion-dollar industry, in which it truly kind of already is. But the only way we can really kind of immerse through it is obviously with controllers through these kind of 2D screens, right? So I think this is going to be huge for Facebook. I honestly want to buy more Facebook stock. I'm currently holding about 50 shares of the company, and I think we're truly just in the first innings of what the 10 to 15 year play could look like, considering they are the dominant player on investing into these platforms. I mean, Oculus, their Quest 2 has been really taking off. In fact, I plan on ordering it. I'm hoping sometime within the next month. I just need to get some more cash flow coming in. I mean, it's only like $300, but I really want to try this out and see if it's going to kind of be these one and done things. It kind of reminds me of like the Wii. These kind of platforms come on, seem super popular, and then they kind of burn out. But currently, Quest has been an incredibly selling platform, and I'm really intrigued to look at the numbers as they basically like tripled or quadrupled them from the first Quest that they dropped. So anyways, guys, I'm going to kind of bring this back to a conversation at a later date and talk more about how I feel about it. I've personally tried some of the virtual reality stuff and I was blown away by it, but I think Quest is the real first kind of initiation for kind of the retail market to kind of dabble their toes in it and kind of have this immersive experience. But I want to pass the question off to you. Do you guys think Facebook's going to be able to compete with the iPhone? Do you think this is just kind of some blanket statements that hold no real truth to them? I'd love to hear about it in that comment section, but stay cool, stay awesome, and I look forward to catching you tomorrow.